Dear students, welcome once again to EduSat learning platform. Today, we are going to discuss about electric flux and Gauss law. Let us make a program first. First, we will discuss about electric flux and then we will see how Gauss law is applied to find the electric field due to various type of charges and charge distributions. To discuss about the electric flux, we should know the geometrical representation of electric field. Electric field can be represented in two ways. Mathematically, it is given by the limit q 0 tends to 0 f by q 0, but geometrically the electric field about a charge is given by the lines of forces around the charge. We get the lines of forces when we place a test charge in an electric field. The motion of the test charge in an electric field gives the lines of force. The basic property of line of force is the concentration of line of force about a point gives the strength of electric field at that point, and tangent drawn at a point to a line of force gives the direction of electric field. Let us take an example. Suppose we have a charge q placed here, and when we put a test charge q 0, if this charge q is positive, then obviously it will be repelled by the charge, and therefore, the path of this moving test charge gives us the lines of forces in an electric field. Let us consider two types of lines of forces. This is one type of line of force where the field lines are not parallel, and in another case the field lines are parallel. Consider two points A and B in both the cases. If I draw a particular amount of area about the points A and B in both the cases, what I see? I see there are no lines of force passing through area around A, but there are two lines of forces passing through the area around B. So, in this case we can write that the magnitude of electric field at A is smaller than the magnitude of electric field at B. But in the second figure, the number of lines of forces passing through both the areas encircling A and B are same. So, the magnitude of electric field at A is equal to the magnitude of electric field at B. So, we can conclude here that parallel lines represent uniform electric field and non-parallel lines, they represent non-uniform electric field. So, we can define electric field E as the number of lines per unit area, or we can say it is flux per unit area, or we can say as flux density. So, summarizing over the entire discussion, what we get? We get flux of electric field due to a charge is E into area, electric field into area. We can write it as electric field into area exposed to the electric field. Since area is a vector quantity, the direction of area is perpendicular to the surface. Therefore, when a surface is exposed to the electric field lines, always it will not happen that it is encounter the total geometrical area of the surface. So, therefore, we are talking about the area exposed to the electric field. Now, let us see what is the meaning of area exposed. Suppose your electric field is making an angle theta to an area. If I consider this is my area and the direction of area is given by this vector, and suppose the electric field lines are making an angle theta to S. Therefore, the effective area of cross section encountered by the electric field is S cos theta, is my exposed area. Therefore, flux is equal to E into S cos theta in this figure. More precisely, if I represent area as delta S, so I can write my flux delta phi equal to E into delta S cos theta. For E and delta S are vectors, implies delta phi equal to E dot delta S, or d phi is E dot ds. Therefore, the total flux phi equal to summation delta phi is summation E dot delta S, or this is integration d phi, this is equal to integration E dot ds. The unit of flux as we know that flux is E into area. Therefore, SI unit is Newton meter square per coulomb, or volt into meter. So, this is about your flux. In this way, we can calculate the flux linked with a surface. Then another thing associated with the calculation of flux is the solid angle. The solid angle is a three-dimensional angle that is formed at the center due to a surface. If I start with a plane angle, let us consider an arc length L making an angle theta with a radius r. We normally write theta equal to L by r. This is my plane angle, and where the maximum value of theta is 2 pi. This 2 pi is calculated by 2 pi r by r, it is 2 pi. Similarly, in 3 dimension, suppose we have a surface delta S. Now, this delta S is making a 3-dimensional angle delta omega at its center, where delta omega is given by delta S divided by r square. So, the maximum value of delta omega is your 4 pi r square divided by r square, that will give you 4 pi. Omega is S by r square. So, my omega max so the solid angle about a point is equal to 4 pi. If the surface is actually making an angle alpha with the radius vector, if the surface is making an angle alpha with the radius r, then in this case my delta omega will be delta S cos alpha divided by r square. So, in this way we can calculate the amount of solid angle which is formed at the center due to a surface when it is exposed to an electric field. So, let us calculate fluxes developed linked with surfaces in some situations. Suppose we consider a charge q placed at the center of a sphere of radius r. Let us calculate what is the amount of flux linked with this sphere. Now, consider a small the direction of area and electric field both are in same direction. So, flux phi is integration E dot ds over the closed surface. Since E and ds are in same direction, so it is integration E ds. So, E is q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square integration ds. When we integrate this surface ds over the surface of a sphere of radius r, we get q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square, integration ds is 4 pi r square. So, we will get it is q divided by epsilon 0. So, through the entire spherical surface, the amount of flux passing is q divided by epsilon 0. Similarly, let us take another example. Suppose we have a cylindrical surface or we have a cylinder placed in an uniform electric field. Uniform electric field is represented by parallel lines. This is my uniform electric field E. So, if I calculate what is the flux or what is the flux passing through this cylinder, then obviously it has two surfaces. One is your ds oppositely directed and the other one ds which is in the direction of electric field. So, this is my surface number 1, surface number 2. So, phi will be equal to phi 1 plus phi 2. My phi 1 is integration E dot ds 1 and my phi 2 is integration E dot ds 2. So, this is minus E s and this is plus E s if s is the surface area. So, that will give you 0. So, the net flux linked with this cylinder is equal to 0. We can see one thing, that when a charge is enclosed within the surface, we are getting a valid flux linked with the surface. But when there is no charge enclosed within, we get flux phi equal to 0. So, we can conclude here that for an outside charge, if a charge is outside the surface, then obviously the flux linked with the surface is 0. So far we have discussed about how to calculate the electric flux due to a charge. We may take some more examples. Suppose we have a cone of base radius r and the electric field is parallel to the base. If the cone has a height h, suppose like this is a cone of base radius r and height h. If my electric field is parallel to the base, then the exposed area, if I cut out the cone vertically, this will be the nature of my exposed area. It is roughly in the form of a triangle having base equal to 2r and height equal to h, and this is my electric field. So, phi will be equal to E into area is half of base into altitude. So, this will be E h r. This is the flux associated with a cone of radius r and height h, where the electric field is parallel to the base. Uniform electric field is parallel to the base. This is the amount of flux entering the cone. The same amount of flux is going out of the cone. So, if we calculate the total flux linked with this cone, it will be 0, because the charge is somewhere here or somewhere at any other place beyond the cone, outside point. So, the net flux will be 0, but the flux entering the cone is E h r. Similarly, let us take another example. Suppose we have a square sheet of dimension L cross L. and a charge q is present at a distance L by 2 from the center of the square. Calculate the amount of flux linked with this side. Now, if I imagine a cube formed by 6 such squares on its 6 sides, the total flux generated by this charge is q divided by epsilon naught in the entire solid angle 4 pi. Therefore, the flux through the square will be how much? It is q divided by 6 epsilon 0, because through the 6 sides the entire flux is going out. So, through one side the flux going out will be q divided by 6 epsilon 0. Now, we can find also, suppose a charge q is present at one of the corner of a cube, then obviously the solid angle delta omega at this corner is pi by 2, and therefore, total flux through this cube is, it is q by epsilon 0 divided by the total solid angle 4 pi into the solid angle subtended at the charge q, and this is equal to pi by 2. So, you will get this is q divided by 8 epsilon naught. Physically also we can visualize the situation that if I set 8 such cubes, the charge q will be entirely be inside the system, giving us the total flux q by epsilon 0. So, through each cube we will get a flux of q divided by 8 epsilon 0. Similarly, if the charge q is suppose placed on any one side corner of the cube, then the solid angle formed at this side is obviously pi. So, my phi equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 into pi, this will give you q divided by 4 epsilon 0. In a similar fashion, we can understand the situation that if I place 4 such cubes side by side, the charge q will be entirely enclosed, and therefore, the flux through each cube is q divided by 4 epsilon 0. Now, consider another example. Suppose a charge q is placed at the center of a sphere of radius r. Now, let us calculate what is the flux passing through the shaded portion of the sphere, which is made at a distance of r by 2 from the center. To find out the flux through the shaded portion, first we have to calculate what is the solid angle that this shaded portion is making at the center of the sphere. To find the solid angle here, we can calculate, this is my r, this is r by 2. So, this angle is obviously pi by 3. Now, let us consider, if this is my r, if this angle is my theta, then this is my r sin theta. If I consider a small portion dr, then this will be, the dA will be equal to 2 pi r sin theta dr. So, this will be 2 pi r sin theta r d theta. So, this is 2 pi r square sin theta d theta, 2 pi r square sin theta d theta. Therefore, d omega equal to dA divided by r square, this is 2 pi sin theta d theta. Okay. So, now integrating d omega, we can find the value of omega, and putting in the expression of phi equal to q by 4 pi epsilon 0 into d omega, we can find out the value of flux linked. Okay. So far we have calculated in different cases how to calculate the value of flux linked with a surface due to a charge or electric field. We were discussing about the calculation of flux due to a charge. After calculating the solid angle it is forming at a point in an electric field, we can calculate the flux linked through the surface. Now, let us find the flux linked in a small surface, partial surface of a sphere when a charge q is placed at its center. Suppose the surface is the upper half starting from radius r by 2 to r. Now, obviously, from a simple geometry we can find out the angle made by the radius of that small portion is pi by 3 at the center. So, the process in which we can calculate the area of this surface, we can consider a very small area of this surface where the radius is r sin theta and thickness is dr. And the value of dr is my r d theta. Putting the values, we can get dA equal to 2 pi r square sin theta d theta as we have discussed earlier. So, my d omega is dA by r square, it is 2 pi sin theta d theta. So, the solid angle formed at the center due to this portion omega is integration d omega. So, it is 2 pi integration sin theta d theta, theta varying from 0 to pi by 3. So, this is 2 pi sin theta d theta integration, we know it is minus cos theta, limit from 0 to pi by 3, this will give me 2 pi, it is minus half plus 1. So, this is equal to pi. Hence, the flux phi linked with this much of surface, shaded surface, is q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into pi. So, this is q divided by 4 epsilon naught. We can analyze the situation that if the shaded surface is forming a solid angle equal to pi at the charge or at the center, where the total solid angle is 4 pi, then obviously the flux through the shaded portion will be 1/4 of the total flux q by epsilon 0. So, it is q divided by 4 epsilon 0. Okay. So, this is the way in which we calculate the flux passing through a surface in an electric field due to a charge. Now, let us try to explain what is Gauss law and how it is applied to find the electric field at different situations. It states that the flux of the net electric field through a closed surface equals the net charge enclosed by the surface divided by epsilon naught. It is mathematically represented by integration E dot ds, the total flux, integration E dot ds over a closed surface is charge q inside divided by epsilon 0, or we can write the summation q, the charge enclosed divided by epsilon 0 within the surface. Now, this Gauss law is related to flux, and knowing the value of flux, we can find the value of electric field at different positions. We have a lot of applications of Gauss law in our daily life. Let us first have a proof of this Gauss law. Suppose I have a charge q inside an enclosure. It may not be a surface of a sphere. It is an enclosure of closed enclosure of any shape. Now, consider a small surface ds which is inclined to electric field at an angle alpha. It is inclined to the electric field at an angle alpha. So, my integration E dot ds will be equal to integration E ds cos alpha. So, this will give you q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square, if r is the distance of ds from the charge q into ds cos alpha integration. So, this will give you q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 integration ds cos alpha divided by r square. So, this is q by 4 pi epsilon 0 integration ds cos alpha by r square is integration d omega, or we can say this is equal to omega. Omega is the total solid angle formed at point q, and we know in 3 dimension the total solid angle is 4 pi. So, it is q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 4 pi. So, this is q divided by epsilon 0. So, this is the proof of Gauss law. So, what we see, the total flux coming out of a closed surface of any shape enclosing a charge q is the charge enclosed within the surface divided by epsilon 0. Now, let us come to the various applications of Gauss law. In the first case, we will see that if charge is not present inside the surface, obviously the electric field inside is 0 and the flux is also 0. Suppose we have a line charge, a line of length L, or we can say a wire of length L having a charge q on it, and we are going to find out the value of electric field at a point P at a distance r from the linear charge. We define the linear charge density lambda as the charge per unit length q by L. Let us consider a Gaussian cylinder of same length L and radius equal to the distance of the point P from the axis. Considering a small surface, we see E and ds are in same direction. So, integration E dot ds is integration E ds this is equal to charge enclosed divided by epsilon 0. So, E integration ds is charge enclosed by epsilon 0. So, E integration ds is, in this case it will be 2 pi r L equal to q divided by epsilon 0, or E equal to q divided by 2 pi r L epsilon 0. Replacing q by L by lambda, we get lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon 0 r. So, the electric field due to a linear charge is lambda by 2 pi epsilon 0 r. This implies due to a linear charge, E is proportional to 1 by r, or it varies with r to the power minus 1. So, if we compare this electric field with that of a point charge, for a point charge electric field is proportional to r to the power minus 2. For a linear charge electric field is proportional to r to the power minus 1. And if I draw the graph of electric field versus distance r, we get it is a rectangular hyperbola. We have already discussed about the application of Gauss law in two cases. In the first case, we see if there is no charge enclosed within a surface, the flux linked is 0, and obviously the electric field inside is 0. But in case of a line charge, we have seen that the electric field is proportional to 1 by r. Let us see how the electric field is varying in case of a surface charge. Let us calculate the electric field due to a surface charge or a plane sheet of charge by using Gauss law. Using Gauss law, for a surface charge or plane sheet of charge, we have to consider a Gaussian pillbox. There are two types of surfaces we can imagine. One is a thin surface, and we can also imagine a thick surface. For both the surfaces, to calculate the electric field, let us charge it by a charge q, and A is its surface area. Just like a pillbox, now consider a Gaussian pillbox having a very small surface area ds on either side. As the charge is suppose positive, then my electric field and ds are in same direction on either side of the sheet, charged sheet. Therefore, E dot d s integration will become q by epsilon 0 gives us E integration d s q divided by epsilon 0 implies E integration d s. If I integrate d s, it will generate two surfaces simultaneously on either side of the plane sheet. So, the total area will be 2 times A is equal to q divided by epsilon 0. So, I get E equal to q divided by 2 A epsilon 0, or we can write it is sigma by 2 epsilon 0. Now, defining the surface charge density sigma as the charge per unit area of the surface. Similarly, if I consider a thick plate, one side of the Gaussian surface will be out of the surface and the other side will be inside the surface. And when I integrate E dot d s, it will again give me q divided by epsilon 0, where E integration d s is q by epsilon 0, where E integration d s is A in this case, because the other d s integration A will be inside the surface. So, it will not be considered. So, it is q divided by epsilon 0, and we get E equal to q divided by A epsilon 0. This is sigma by epsilon 0. So, for a thick plate, thick sheet of charge, we get electric field is sigma by epsilon 0. For a thin sheet of charge, we get electric field is sigma by 2 epsilon 0. And the beauty of this thing is, it is independent of the distance of observation or the point of observation. Therefore, for a plane sheet of charge or for this type of surface charge, electric field E is uniform. It is independent of R. So, it is proportional to R to the power 0. It gives us constant electric field, and hence we get uniform electric field throughout due to a plane sheet of charge. Let us apply Gauss law to find electric field due to a volume charge distribution or a spherical charge. Consider a thin spherical shell of radius r. Consider a thin spherical shell of radius r and a conducting sphere, conducting solid sphere of radius r, same radius. If a charge q is given to the sphere and to the shell, if a charge q is given to the sphere and to the shell, both the charges will lie on the surface, because since the sphere is conducting due to mutual repulsion, the charges will lie on the surface. Just like for a shell, since nothing is inside, no matter is inside, the charges will always remain on the surface. So, both the cases are very similar cases. If I consider a point P outside the shell or outside the sphere, and imagine a Gaussian sphere of radius equal to the distance x. What I get? I get integration E dot ds equal to the entire charge q enclosed divided by epsilon 0. So, E integration ds will be 4 pi x square equal to q by epsilon naught, and I get E equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 x square. Similarly, in case of a solid sphere also, we can find out your electric field will be q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 x square at an external point. If the point P is lying on the surface, then electric field becomes maximum and it becomes q equal to 4 pi epsilon 0 r square when x is equal to r. A similar thing happens when the point P is lying on the surface of a solid sphere. For x equal to r, since r is the minimum value of x, therefore, E becomes the maximum value on the surface. For an internal point, suppose point P is somewhere inside the surface, and I draw a Gaussian sphere. Since there is no charge enclosed within this surface, therefore, for any internal point in both the cases, integration E dot ds is equal to 0 by epsilon 0, it is equal to 0. So, my electric field equal to 0 inside both the cell and the conducting sphere. Now, drawing the variation of electric field with distance, we get it is maximum when x is equal to r and it varies like 1 by r square. So, electric field varies r to the power as r to the power minus 2 for an external point due to a spherical cell or due to a conducting sphere, as if the spherical cell and conducting sphere are behaving like point charges, or the charge q is placed at the center of the cell and also at the center of the conducting sphere. But the things will be different if the sphere is non-conducting. If we consider a non-conducting sphere, then of radius r, then the charges will be uniformly distributed over the entire volume. For a point P at a distance x inside the non-conducting sphere, we get the charge enclosed within the Gaussian surface of radius x is charge divided by 4 by 3 pi r cube into 4 by 3 pi x cube. So, this is q x cube divided by r cube. Therefore, E dot ds integration equal to q dash divided by epsilon 0. So, E integration ds is q x q divided by r q epsilon 0. So, E into 4 pi x square equal to q x q divided by r q epsilon 0. This implies E equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r q into x. This is very important. What we see, with increase in x, because everything is constant, q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r q. With increase in x, the value of electric field increases. So, therefore, for an internal point, E is proportional to x. Similarly, like the spherical shell and solid sphere, if I consider the point P on the surface and then at a point outside the sphere, for a point outside the sphere, E dot ds integration is the entire charge enclosed divided by epsilon 0. So, E integration ds is 4 pi x square is q divided by epsilon 0. So, this will give me E equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 x square, implies E is proportional to 1 by x square, like a point charge. On the surface, x is equal to r. So, this implies E is proportional to E is equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square, which is maximum. So, if I plot the graph between electric field and distance x for a non-conducting sphere, it will vary linearly with x up to x equal to r, and then it falls off like 1 by x square. So, this is the variation of electric field with distance due to a non-conducting sphere, charged sphere. Okay. So, today we have discussed a lot of things. First, we have started with electric flux, how to calculate the electric flux. Then we have calculated the solid angle, how to calculate the solid angle, and then we apply Gauss law to find electric field due to different type of charge distributions, linear charge, surface charge and spherical charge distributions. Thank you.